In the unfolding global drama of 2025, grand strategy will take center stage. The year will mark a significant turning point where great powers and rising nations hold firm to their national goals and resources. But what will truly shift is how these powers engage with each other, through new actions and collaborations, moving from war to peace and focusing on global stability. As we dive into this new era, let's explore how these four powerful figures, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Narendra Modi, are setting the stage for 2025. The first quarter of 2025 will be a period of hardening positions. Global leaders will initially continue their confrontational stances, especially after years of military engagement and geopolitical strain. But as the year progresses, there's a distinct shift in tactics. The harsh realities of war, economic fallout, civilian casualties, and the looming humanitarian crises will lead to a change of heart. Leaders will begin transitioning from aggression to more collaborative strategies. It's a period of healing, where, by the second or third quarter, we will start to see green shoots of peace. The global focus will pivot towards rebuilding the global economy, pushing for trade, peace, and cooperation. At the heart of this transformation is Donald Trump, the 78-year-old President of the United States. In his second term, Trump will pivot towards domestic priorities like jobs, growth, and a less regulated economy. But he won't just focus on the U.S. His vision of making America great again will extend beyond borders. Trump will aim to push the U.S. towards a less violent world. He'll be drawing down on external conflicts and shifting the country's focus from military interventions to creating an economy that's easier to do business in. The question is, can he achieve his goals of economic growth while avoiding inflation and the pressure of global tariffs? Trump's diplomacy will play a pivotal role in easing tensions globally, particularly in Russia and China. In 2025, Trump plans to create a more business-friendly U.S. economy by reversing recent left-leaning policies. His strategy focuses on reducing government spending, deregulating the private sector, and lowering taxes, making it easier for businesses to thrive. Partnering with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, Trump aims to foster innovation, attract global investment, and boost U.S. economic influence. However, these reforms will impact global economies, pressuring countries like India and the EU to adapt their systems to remain competitive. Trump's economic policies extend to international trade, with plans for tariff wars against China, Canada, and Mexico. While these tariffs aim to protect U.S. interests, they could increase domestic prices and inflation, limiting the Federal Reserve's ability to lower interest rates. India, with its rapidly growing economy, may benefit from trade talks with the U.S. but will need to modernize labor and land regulations to maintain global competitiveness. Trump's non-interventionist approach seeks to reduce U.S. involvement in foreign wars, including the Russia-Ukraine conflict and NATO expansion tensions. He aims to use diplomacy to encourage negotiations, reducing long-standing global conflicts. Additionally, Trump plans to mediate in the Israel-Iran conflict, curbing Iranian proxy wars in the Middle East. By combining persuasion with strategic pressure, Trump hopes to lay the groundwork for long-term global stability. Next, we turn to Vladimir Putin, the 72-year-old Russian president. As Putin enters his 20th year in power, he'll continue his quest for territorial expansion, but not without a twist. In 2025, Russia will balance its pursuit of dominance with a new strategy of withdrawal. Putin knows when to press on and when to pull back. His complex approach will be a blend of territorial control and calculated concessions, redefining what it means for Russia to succeed in a rapidly shifting world. As a key player in global peace talks, his willingness to negotiate and accept territorial shifts could help to end long-standing conflicts, including the Russia-Ukraine war. In 2025, Putin's first major action is seizing 1,200 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory, a strategic move he has no intention of reversing. This land grab isn't just about expanding borders but gaining leverage in future negotiations, increasing pressure on Ukraine, and strengthening Russia's position in peace talks. Putin has also issued a nuclear warning. If Ukraine uses US-supplied weapons to strike deep into Russian territory, Russia may respond with nuclear force. This is more than a military threat, it's a political message to the West, forcing them to reconsider military aid. By lowering the threshold for nuclear retaliation, Putin raises the stakes, reshaping how the war is fought and compelling all parties to rethink their strategies. Another red line for Putin is Ukraine's potential NATO membership, which he sees as a direct threat to Russia's security and influence. While Ukraine views NATO as essential for its sovereignty, Putin refuses to accept it, creating a significant roadblock to peace. As the US and EU deal with internal challenges, Putin's stance on NATO becomes harder to ignore. With rising military costs, Western powers are recognizing the need for peace. Former US President Donald Trump could play a role as a mediator, possibly negotiating a settlement where Ukraine gives some territory to Russia, ending the war but leaving deep divisions. Rebuilding Ukraine, estimated to cost $500 billion, will be a major financial challenge for the US and EU, but also a step toward reconstruction. Sanctions on Russia, particularly its exclusion from the SWIFT financial system, remain a critical issue. Putin will demand their removal and the return of $300 billion in frozen assets. While he may waive interest, he'll insist on full recovery. Putin's 2025 strategies like territorial control, nuclear threats, and financial negotiations are designed to secure Russia's global position. Whether they lead to stability or more tension remains uncertain. The third leader in this strategic negotiation is Xi Jinping, the 71-year-old leader of China. Over the past few years, Xi's aggressive expansionism, particularly in the South China Sea and in his country's trade wars, has been a defining feature. However, as 2025 unfolds, it is expected that Xi's geopolitical aggression to subside. Faced with internal challenges, including a slowing economy and trade tensions, Xi will shift focus to domestic issues. The economic turmoil in China will be a catalyst for this change. Rather than pushing for global domination, he will focus on internal stability, with less aggression on the world stage. However, his territorial ambitions will not disappear. Instead, he'll approach them with more tactical caution, particularly when it comes to strategic areas like Taiwan and the South China Sea. In 2025, China's economy is slowing after years of being a global growth engine. Key issues include a struggling real estate market and shifts in global supply chains, with countries like Vietnam and India emerging as cheaper manufacturing alternatives. As China's export-driven economy loses its competitive edge, Beijing faces internal and external pressure to rethink its strategy. The country's once dominant role in global trade is being challenged, weakening its influence over the global economy and forcing a shift toward more strategic planning. To counter these challenges, China is changing its trade approach by offering zero-tariff policies to 33 African nations. This allows these countries to export goods to China tax-free, aiming to strengthen trade ties and maintain influence in resource-rich Africa. However, this policy may be short-lived due to China's economic slowdown. Meanwhile, US President Trump is expected to impose tariffs on China, creating a clash between China's globalization efforts and US protectionist policies. The world will watch to see whether globalization or deglobalization prevails. In the South China Sea, China's aggressive military actions have caused territorial disputes with countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. However, in 2025, China may adopt a less aggressive approach due to international pressure and its economic struggles. Xi Jinping's government could lean more toward diplomacy, focusing on strategic talks instead of military force. China will still aim to control vital resources, particularly in seabed mining, but through cooperation rather than conflict. This shift aims to prevent further isolation from the global community while maintaining influence in the region. Overall, China's economic and military strategies in 2025 reflect a need for adaptation, balancing economic pressures, and international relations to sustain its global influence. Finally, we have Narendra Modi, the 74-year-old Prime Minister of India. India's role in 2025 will be crucial in keeping the peace and bridging the divides between the great powers. Modi has spent years cultivating strategic autonomy, enabling India to build relationships with both the US and Russia, a unique position that allows him to mediate and facilitate dialogue. With tensions rising between the world's major powers, Modi will serve as a key negotiator, nudging leaders like Trump, Putin, and Xi towards cooperation rather than conflict. India's growing economic influence and its strategic alliances will make Modi an indispensable player on the world stage. India is rising fast in the global economy, with a projected $400 billion boost to its GDP in 2025, making it the world's third-largest economy. By 2032, India is expected to become a $10 trillion economy, further increasing its global influence. This growth isn't just about numbers. It's about attracting global businesses eager to invest in India's expanding market. With a strong economic foundation, India will use this growth to strengthen international trade and business partnerships, becoming a global powerhouse. India has successfully built trust-based relationships with both the US and Russia, maintaining neutrality despite their conflicting interests. In 2025, This diplomatic skill will be crucial as India continues to serve as a mediator in global issues. For example, its neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict positions India as a key facilitator for peace talks. Although the final peace deal will depend on direct negotiations between Russia and the West, India's ability to mediate will be a significant advantage. India's growing influence in the Middle East adds to its geopolitical strength. It has developed strong relationships with many countries in the region, allowing it to play a stabilizing role. India's balanced approach to the Israel-Hamas-Hezbollah conflict enables it to support peace efforts without getting deeply involved in regional tensions. In 2025, India's neutral stance will allow it to back peace negotiations led by the US, Israel, and Iran, further enhancing its role as a force for stability in the region. India's strategic location in the Indian Ocean makes it a key player in global trade and energy security. As global trade routes become more critical, India's role in protecting these corridors will grow. Its involvement in the Quad, which is a security alliance with the US, Japan, and Australia, will be crucial in maintaining stability in the Indo-Pacific region. In 2025, India's security partnerships will be essential for ensuring the free flow of trade and maintaining regional peace. Under President Trump's leadership, the US will focus on geo-economic negotiations involving trade, immigration, and tariffs. India, as a rising economic power, will be central to these discussions, especially as it reforms its labor, land, and agricultural sectors. Quick reforms in labor and regulations will help India adapt to international trade demands, while land and agricultural reforms will need more careful planning. India's ability to balance domestic changes with global trade goals will shape its economic future. As 2025 unfolds, the world will witness a pivotal shift from confrontation to cooperation. Global leaders will navigate a landscape shaped by both opportunity and challenge. While the early months may see entrenched stances and heightened tensions, the undeniable toll of conflict will push nations toward dialogue and diplomacy. Economic pressures, humanitarian concerns, and a shared desire for stability will drive this transition, fostering a renewed focus on peace and rebuilding. This year marks not just a turning point for individual nations, but for the global order itself. Collaboration will become the cornerstone of progress, and the actions taken in 2025 will define the world's trajectory for years to come. As these leaders recalibrate their strategies, a new era of international relations is set to emerge. One where unity and shared prosperity take precedence over division. Let's think, discover, and grow together as we navigate the path towards global stability and cooperation.